Can I say, like, my boobs, my engorgement was
We were talking about this before.
the roof. You can be as explicit as you like, but why were you scared to poo? Whoever is pregnant, I'm sorry. I promise I promise it's magic. You didn't plan twins.
No.
But has there ever been a point where you'd put them back if you could?
Yes, with all three of them.
Blow me down. I wish I'd known that. There are billions of women passing through similar experiences all around the world, and for whatever reason, we often feel like we're alone. It's time to make a point of discussing these topics from a range of viewpoints. Women in the workplace, fertility, the menopause, women's rights, social media, sexuality, body image, politics, relationships, parenting, age, and women in their role today. These conversations surpass age, race, location. They are relevant to women everywhere. Welcome to the She Word. Conversations that women rarely have, but really should. For those willing to change the world one step at a time. For those dreaming of sustainable living. For those striving to find a healthier balance. For those always believing. Browns and Viridian. Love the planet, love yourself. Welcome to the She Word, conversations that women rarely have, but really should. And today's conversation is about women and parenting. And I'm really excited because as a non-parent, I have a lot of questions to ask. I am joined here today by Tamara Webb, who is a businesswoman. You are a social media influencer, but you're also a mum. And Denise, who is a performer, a singer, and also a mum of a young girl of 6. And we've got Melissa Gatt, who's the island mama, also a social media influencer. And you have 3 as well as twins. So this is absolutely crazy. So ladies, brace yourselves, because I've got some questions for you. And it's no holds barred. I'm going to be asking some of those brutal questions that non-parents want to ask parents. But I'm going to start off with you, Tamara. Just give me your parenthood journey. Not how did you become a parent? That's a bit explicit, but how?
Oh my goodness. That was my actual journey. Okay, so don't you want to know my background?
Yes.
Like my journey? Okay,
absolutely.
So I wanted to be a mom for as long as I remember. So that's the first thing. So I think I always had this natural instinct. When you used to ask me when I was young, what do you want to be? I always said I wanted to be a mom. Or as something with a pouch, like giving change. That was me. So then I got married with my husband. We've been together for 14 years. And as soon as we got married, I told him I want to have a child immediately. But it took us long. It took us 4 years because I had a problem with my hormones and I needed fertility treatment. And it was a really tough journey for me because, as I said, for as long as I remembered, I wanted to be a mom. But today I have a 2-year-old. Her name is Pixie Rose, and she's my world. It's been challenging, obviously, because I would be lying if I said I have everything put together in my life because I'm everywhere. It's challenging, but a blessing.
We're going to come to those challenges in just a second. Denise, your story.
Wow. Well, I was at university. I was studying dance full time. I wanted to travel and do art around the world and take my art, like dance and singing. At the time, I wasn't studying singing as professionally as I am today. So I was all about dancing and whatever. So I took the dance course at university and I fell pregnant at 19.
Okay.
So a year later of university, not only a year, a few months actually. And obviously I decided to keep her, thank God. And I left university for about a year and I decided I always had this instinct to help others, not necessarily a motherly instinct. At the time I said I want to know that my dancing career is over before I start building a family or having children, because my mind used to tell me, like, when you have kids, your body changes, you're not flexible anymore, blah, blah, blah. My focus was always dance, not my age, or I put my dancing first. But then I wasn't liking the course at the time I was in, so that was... I would have left the course anyway, even if I didn't fall pregnant. So then while I was pregnant, I took biology private lessons, and I did another exam while I was pregnant, which was hell, because kids that age are not easy to be around. So then I went into biology. I did my exams, and I went into a diploma for nursing.
Fantastic.
And I had my child. I was then 20 because I had my birthday. And now my mom is my savior, because she keeps her while I studied, while I graduated. I changed jobs a while ago. And now my journey of being an artist as well, post-Eurovision, has really exploded quite quickly. So I'm still trying to get used to everything.
Well, we're going to come to that about the support network as well. We're going to talk about that in a second. But, I mean, congratulations. Congratulations on all your studies. And, I mean, I'm going to find out, I'm quite sure, how difficult it is to do everything else whilst you're being a mum. But, Melissa, your story as well.
So my story is I came to Malta around 9 years ago with my husband. Before coming here, I did not even know of Malta. And we got married quite fast after moving here. And then we were married for around 3 years, and we decided, okay, we are ready for the next step. We felt like we wanted to settle down a bit. So then I fell pregnant with Savannah in 2016, and I had her in 2017. And it took us a while to decide to have, you know, another child, because Savannah was not the easiest child. We didn't sleep. We really struggled in the beginning with her. And then I got a sleep trainer involved, and as soon as she started sleeping, I felt pregnant. And obviously very happy. I always wanted 2 kids. And I went for my first scan, and as soon as the doctor started the ultrasound, he just went, oh! And Daniel was recording the whole thing, and I just started seeing like the camera shaking. And the doctor said, it's twins. And at first, I am not going to lie, I won't say I was very happy, because I was so completely overwhelmed. After having one child, and she was the difficult child, I thought that it was going to be exactly the same. So I was very overwhelmed. I don't have my family in Malta either. Anyway, fast forward, they are now 2 years old, and I can't imagine my life without the twins. So yes, I'm a mother of 3.
So a mother of 3 in a very short space of time. And it's really interesting, because we've just started talking, and each of you have mentioned challenges. Because I think as a non-parent, you sort of look at parenting, you know that there's challenges, you know that there's going to be things that are going to be difficult, but I wouldn't necessarily know what they are. So I'm going to come back to you and just ask you, what is for you has been the biggest challenge? We're going to talk about the joys, but right now, what's the biggest challenge that you've had being a parent?
So far?
Yeah.
Again, as you said, you wouldn't know, because I thought I was prepared. As I said, I always wanted to be a mother. I thought I was very prepared. I always had this motherly instinct and taking care of all my friends' children. But when I had mine, it is a completely different scenario. I felt so overwhelmed. It was COVID as well. So when I had Pixie, no one wanted to hold her. No one wanted to come and visit me. Everyone was scared. I felt lonely. I felt overwhelmed. I wanted to be the best mother as I possibly could, because that's what I thought I would always be. But when she was born, I was never a mother before. This was all new. I feel also that as soon as you give birth, people assume you're already a mother. And I was still the same person as I was the day before, you know. I was my mother's daughter, crying because I'm going to hospital and doing my plaits, and my father kissing me on the forehead. And then I had a baby. I'm a mother. So it's overwhelming. In fact, when I see women with newborns and fathers, of course, I always like asking them, but how are you? Because the first reaction people have when you have the baby, oh, how cute. Is she sleeping? Is she drinking well? How are you? You have been through hell. I mean, I had a very positive birth experience myself, but it was still very overwhelming. I felt very alone. I won't call it postnatal depression because I don't think I actually had it, but I felt lonely. And I felt I had a huge responsibility, something that no one could prepare me for. Even when people tell you, it's going to be hard, you're not going to sleep, but when it actually hits you, it's different.
And the irony of it is that, for a lot of women, that is their journey. They're going to have a child, they're going to have a family. And we've done this for millennia. Mm-hmm. And yet, for every single woman and mother and father, of course, it's the first time.
But now I feel something really special for women who are pregnant. I see them in a completely different light. Before I used to see women who are pregnant, like, oh, how sweet your time. And now I'm like, oh my God.
Oh God, for you.
It's not because it's bad, because I mean, if I had to go to the same experience now and if I would have a second child, I'm sure I would be much different and it would be so much better, because I'm prepared. It's just the newness of it all, of you having to change from one day to another. So if I had the second, I would be completely different.
Well, is that the case? Because you've been a mum twice.
Yeah, twice. But I also thought that the second pregnancy was going to be, maybe a nicer experience. But then I ended up with
Twins.
2 in my belly, and it was intense.
We used to talk every day.
Yes, it was so intense because I thought that I was quite good in the first pregnancy, I rested when I wanted to. And the second pregnancy, you can't rest. And I had 2, which meant double the fatigue, double the size. It was very, very tough.
But did you have the learnings that Tamara's just said?
Was it easier?
Yes. After having them, yes. And even if there was 2 extra, it was easier because I did not feel on edge and, I didn't faff too much over them because they're not made out of porcelain, but you kind of treat it that way when it's your first because it is your first time, So the second time around, I would say that it was easier in that sense, And
COVID didn't help.
Exactly.
I mean, I used to spray the bag. I used to wipe the bag 3 times a day and make sure everything is properly sterilized. If a midwife came to my house, I used to give her covers for her shoes. I was obsessed that she would get COVID. Even my mother used to come and visit me, and she used to stay behind the glass door, and I used to cry. I felt really detached from the world and my friends, and it's sort of you lose yourself a little bit. But it's because of COVID mainly as well.
Is it because of COVID?
That's exactly what I wanted to say now, because we gave birth 2 weeks
apart.
Yeah. And I did not care that much about COVID because I was very relaxed with them. But again, if it was my first, I think I would have. So I treated it more relaxed, I think, the second time around. I would let my parents, see the twins, and Daniel's parents see the twins, but they were in a bubble. So I made sure of that. But other than that, I don't think I faffed too much the second time around.
Denise, your situation is completely different because I'm assuming, being that you were at university, your pregnancy wasn't planned.
No.
And your pregnancy. So what is it as obvious as saying your biggest challenge was that you had to then put your education on hold, or what did you? Or was it your peers? What did you find as the biggest challenge?
There were so many challenges other than the child herself. I think there was the challenge of me thinking about my future, like what I want to do, because I changed careers. I went from dancing to, I should go to nursing. It's stable. It's a good job. It's good for my kid. I love it, so might as well. But then I had to study, and it's quite the task to study while you have a child and to do nursing because it's quite a tough subject. So that was one. The studying on itself was already a challenge. But I too felt lonely. I had postnatal depression. I was depressed during the pregnancy as well. So I had a really easy pregnancy. nothing was wrong. I was never in pain or anything. It was fine. I was never throwing up or anything. It was seamless. It would be a dream if she were planned.
It's the shock.
It's just, I never got over it. My sister and my mom had to plan and buy stuff for me because I was like this all the time. So that's and I was lonely in a sense, not I was detached. I had a lot of help and everyone came to see her, and there was no COVID existing. So I was fine in that aspect, but I felt lonely because I was 20. All my friends were going out on the weekend and I was there, you know?
So this leads me on to a question that is such a big deal for a non-parent, because you were talking about the fact that you had to not just adapt to having a child, but you had to completely change your life. So I'm going to ask you a really brutal question, and this applies to you, Melissa, and also to you, Tamara. Is there ever been a point where you resented being a parent, being a mum? Yours wasn't planned, but was there any point where you could, if you could have done, you would have turned the tide round and put the clocks back and done it differently?
Yes and no. Because you feel guilty saying it, but it's true. I mean, I was young, I was unprepared, I never had that urge for children anyway. So it's different, and I had a completely different career path in my brain for myself since I was a young girl. So yes, I had to change everything. So I thought like it would be easier if I didn't.
So perhaps there's been at points some resentment. Melissa, you planned your family. You didn't plan twins.
No.
But has there ever been a point where you would put them back if you could?
Yes, with all three of them, but it wouldn't last very long. I think it's when things become overwhelming, then you kind of feel like, oh, well, it would be very easy if they were not here. But then as soon as you think that, then you almost ask yourself, how can you think that, you know? But obviously, I mean, you are also your own person with your own life, and every human being is a little bit selfish as well. And when you become a parent, you have to become selfless. And when things...
That's true.
Yes.
Yes.
And when things become overwhelming, sometimes you just want that time alone a bit. You want to go to the bathroom alone. You want to be able to lie down on the bed, even if it's just for 5 minutes. So there has been times where my husband and I would say it, like, oh, we just don't want a parent today. And I don't feel bad for saying that, but obviously I don't want to feel like that, but you do get times where you do feel like that. And I think it's normal.
You tried really hard for your daughter, but do you ever want to have a non-parenting day? Well, you don't want to be a parent today. You have a day where you don't want to be a parent.
But I think that feeling is normal. It's like when you work and you're working really hard for something, I just wish you weren't working that day. It's normal because there's a lot of commitment. But so far I never felt it. She's 2 years old. I'm still very fresh. I love her company. So far I cannot say that, but obviously when she grows up, who knows? She might be very difficult to raise. I don't know. But so far it's fine. You also, both of you guys raised a point, and I'm going to start with you on this one, because you mentioned having that me time, and this also encroaches on the subject of identity. And we spoke about this before we started recording, because I have a friend who is a new parent and adamant that she should still be recognized as she is for what she does and not be put into that parent bracket. But for the 2 hours before we came onto this show, you ladies were sitting around talking about being a mum, talking about your kids. And it's one thing that you have in common. Do you ever feel that you've lost your identity, or you do lose your identity, or that people perceive that you are Tamara Webb, the mum,
rather than Tamara Webb, the individual, the businesswoman, everything else?
Obviously, I'm quite active on social media, so I think people who know me and who follow me know that it's not just about being a mum. But in the beginning, it is just being a mum sometimes, because you have to feed them every 3 hours. You have to change them every 3 hours. Everything is new for you. So in the beginning, I can't say that I didn't lose myself, because I did. I used to find myself crying, and I didn't know why. And I used to tell my mother, but why am I crying? I'm happy. I have a baby. It is all I ever wanted. But deep down, I knew it's because my life changed completely. Was I ready to accept that I couldn't work anymore at the time? Because I couldn't at the time. It's like I didn't have time. My focus for the day, sleeping. No, I didn't sleep. Waking up in the morning and sleeping in the evening was always thinking about feeding my daughter, sterilizing the bottles. Why is she crying? Have to change the diaper. Her nap time. Oh, if she doesn't sleep in her nap time. This is your first few weeks. But obviously, you wouldn't know that things will change. After 6 months, babies settle, and you will settle with them. So everything is new and you're still learning. So that's why I said before, it's not all about the baby. The biggest change is the parents. So the biggest struggle is how they're feeling when they have a newborn, which is not the same for everyone. I mean, I had friends who had newborns and they felt nothing like how I felt. But I guess everyone has a different journey as well. Since I was always a very busy person and I was very consumed with my business, my husband is very busy as well. We're always on the go. Even just having that newborn, and I couldn't go to the supermarket just because I wanted to, made me feel hopeless. I wasn't strong enough. I mean, obviously, as I said, we were during COVID, so I didn't feel safe to go out with my newborn. She was very tiny as well. It was just overwhelming.
I'm hearing lots of ums from you over here.
Even just dressing up.
You're agreeing, huh?
Yes, for me it was a bit different because I don't think anyone knew me before becoming a mom. I started just blogging about my life once I became a mom, hence my name, my Instagram name. And I feel like constantly I'm trying to prove who I am when I'm not a mom, because I am also my own person. So I feel like I struggle to, separate the two, because I feel like I am looked at as a mom and a mom only.
But that's the dichotomy. Melissa, your name is
I know.
You put yourself out there as a mum.
I know, but that was also 5.5 years ago or 6 years ago. And during that time, I've grown and I've changed. And I also want to be my own person, And I didn't think that it was going to go anywhere. The reason I started my blog was because I had no friends in Malta with kids. So I felt super, super lonely. I didn't even have friends back in South Africa with kids. I didn't have my parents with me. So I kind of wanted to start something where I could relate to other people and where we could kind of, exchange stories and stuff. Yes.
And we did.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of social media.
Exactly. I feel like it really helped me. But in the meantime, I'm still struggling to kind of, let people see who I am,
You know what's really interesting? I'm sitting here and I'm listening to three mums who have very much bonded over this podcast, over this topic, but who are from such different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you were known for being Tamara Webb way, way before you became a mum, and you've had your experience through being a mum, and probably Denise, going by your socials, and of course that's how most people know each other, I would not even have known that you're a mum because you are very specific about keeping your identity Denise.
I have to remind people I'm a mom and that I
didn't know. Once I had to ask you.
Everyone, first they ask if I'm Godziten. You're like, oh, you're Godziten, oh my God. And then the second, you don't seem like a Godziten. God knows why. Anyway, it's always a hot question. And then the second one would be like, you have a child? Oh, how old is she? And then when I say she's turning 6, 6? Like she's this...
They just do the math.
Yeah. They're just like...
Yeah.
And yes, I have to... I'm the other way around. I have to constantly prove to people that I'm a mom.
Yeah. But what about proving to yourself? How is your identity?
Well, I think my dynamic is different since I was a single mother and I still am. So, but her father is present in her life, so it's different. I have to have two lives all the time because when I'm in Malta, since she's in Gozo and I have her a lot with my parents, when I'm here, I'm Denise A, and when I'm back home, I'm Denise B. So I completely have these two lives almost. And they don't really cross over. They don't really collide unless she's at events with me or they come watch me sing or whatever. So when I'm in Malta, I have events, I have interviews, I go to work, blah, 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 blah. I'm Denise. And then when I cross over to Gozo, I have to go to church with my kid at 4 p.m. and she has a stagecoach and she has this and she has school and she has homework and...
But I think most of us are like that as well. Don't you feel you're two people sometimes? Like when I go to meetings and when I'm out, it's different than when I'm with her.
But you go back home and
yes,
she's
you
there.
don't go back home. Yes, it's true.
I rent in Malta, so when I go home, I'm still working on my laptop. I work till 2 a.m.
That's
and
different. Yeah.
it's totally different.
Because I feel like, you're seeing me here, then I go home, I put my hair up,
yes,
take my clothes off, I'm like, hey, let's do Play-Doh, and I'm a completely different person.
Yeah, that's true.
And I will laugh. I mean, me and my husband sometimes we laugh and we say, what's happened to us?
Yeah. We say that as well.
Is this porn? Is this chocolate?
Okay, well, let me ask you, what has happened to you as a couple? Because bringing an extra person into the dynamic, even if she was really longed for, must have had an impact.
That was one of the most challenging parts in the first year. Me and my husband are very close. We have been best friends for 13 years before she came. Now we've been together for 14 years. So all we knew was attention for each other. We traveled a lot. We went out on dates. 30 minutes before a movie, we left home like, let's put on tracks on, let's go and see a movie. So we were very carefree. And obviously when we had Pixie, it was a completely different approach because my attention had to go to her. And it's not that men, I mean, I don't want to make this sound sexist or anything, but I think because we have them inside us, we're more maternal immediately when we have the baby. So I felt that sort of protection towards her. And I used to see, obviously, there's a difference. You cannot really go out whenever you want now. We don't even sleep in our bed whenever we want now. So it's different. There is a certain... it's sort of intrusive through the relationship, but then there are other magical moments which add up to a couple, obviously, who have a child. But yes, it's difficult. You're like,
It's true. Daniel,
even watching a movie, you cannot just go on the sofa watch a movie because
you have to wait.
The sleeping routine. You have to feed them.
Yeah,
brush your teeth, pee before you sleep.
Yeah.
Daniel even said that after having Savannah, it took him a couple of months, because like Tamara said, we have them inside of us, so you immediately, you know of their presence, they're inside of you, you are maternal immediately. Whereas for them, it becomes gradual, it's a gradual process after they are born. And I could see with Daniel, it took around a year.
And I think physically as well. You have to make an effort after you have a child.
Don't touch me.
Oh, yes.
I was like that. Can I say, like, my boobs, my engorgement was...
We were talking about this before.
The roof. I mean, you couldn't even come close to them because I would tell you, don't stand close to them because they're hurting just looking at them. It was crazy. So yes, that changes. I mean, the physical, the attraction, the way you look at yourself.
Yeah. Especially that part.
Yeah, especially that part. Even
because
if you tell me,
really
you look gorgeous, but I'm like, no, I don't.
No, not only. I don't
hormones.
know I don't know how explicit we can. I was scared to poop.
Yes.
Yeah, to pee.
Even
my
me.
God.
Stop a second. You can be as explicit as you like, but why were you scared to poo?
Because
I had put it up on my stories.
Yeah, you scared that you're going to split
Sensation,
on
yeah.
poop.
Not the poop, okay? I said on my stories, like, why has no one told me how painful it is to pee?
Yes, it burns.
Oh, yeah.
It burns.
Wait, I was scared to poop because it felt like my body was going to split in half of
Oh my God, whoever is pregnant, I'm sorry. I promise I promise it's magical. I had a very good birthing experience, okay? Because I don't want anyone who pregnant who's like, oh my God, my life is going to end. It lasts for only a few weeks.
Exactly.
Okay? So it's just the beginning.
No, sorry. Okay, non-parent is now looking at you ladies going, I am
Explain.
seriously concerned. So you have problems pooping and peeing after you give birth. For how long?
I think
It
it lasted
depends.
2 weeks for me.
I was scared to sit on the toilet itself.
But
Before I
this
had
is-
any sensation to
Nobody
poop.
tell you.
Yes.
Why did not? And then when I was, suffering to pee, and then my mother was like, "Yes, that's
Yes,
normal."
uh-huh.
Why didn't you tell me? I'm like, "What did you?" And in fact, if I have a friend who's pregnant, I wouldn't go up to her. No, wait till you
Exactly.
wait till you give birth because then you can't pee. Why?
Why?
I think it's something that you have to go through because you won't be prepared, and not
Well,
everyone
everybody
goes
that's
through
listening
it.
to this knows it now. Everyone.
But not everyone goes through it. I in fact never actually shared my birthing experience online because I feel that mine was very positive.
Yeah.
And sometimes you feel bad saying that, listen, I went in, I thought I was imagining that it's a gym session and I went to push, I went there
Mine
to get that
wasn't.
baby out. And I went with that mindset. And it was positive, it was fun, we were laughed. In pain, I was in pain. I had contractions like everybody else. But it was a positive experience I will never forget. But then when I tell my story to maybe others who
Might
had a
not have.
horrible experience,
Mine.
and that I feel really bad.
I had good and bad though. So for me, the natural, amazing, C-section, disaster.
And usually they say it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Because why?
Well, I think usually the healing period for C-section is around 6 weeks. For me, it was 3 months. So around, I would say December, I gave birth in August. December, I started feeling a bit better. So it was, and there was obviously 2 babies as well. So I had to pick them up, which you shouldn't really do.
3 children and
Yes.
two of those being babies, newborns.
It
You
was-
had a difficult pregnancy birth.
I wasn't used.
Even me.
Even
So
me as
they
well.
amped up my hormones instantly to have a fast birth. I went in at 8, starting my process at around 8:30, and by 1 I was done. And usually between contractions you have breaks. I don't know about you guys. So you have a contraction, you wait, you get another
No,
one.
I wasn't used. I had
They
same thing.
build
Me too.
slowly. Nothing. It was just one big contraction. And I don't remember half of it. Completely erased. Bye.
New Max Stack Mascara. Stack. 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 Max Stack.
So if these are the areas of pregnancy, we're talking about pregnancy now, that are not known before you enter, and you have a really good point, because perhaps if every woman knew that would be the end of the human race. But what are the unexpected, can you put your finger on what's unexpected about parenthood that you didn't know about, that you did not, the biggest surprise that's like, I had no idea about
I have
that.
one. The heartbreak. Because sometimes they pop the strangest questions. And then you're like, oh, I know you're like an innocent little girl and you didn't mean to hurt me, but that stung. I don't know about you because yours is still young.
is still
But I worry about that
But
already.
like a what? Like a, how do you mean?
I don't know. For example, if I'm at home and I'm working, I work on my phone. So when I work from home, she can't understand the fact that I'm working on my phone. For her, I'm just ignoring her. And she's like, there's no use in you coming to Gozo if you're on your phone. And I'm like, ouch, I'm working. So I'm like, my heart. But she's just play with me, like remove
This
your
is something
phone.
that Look, when I had Pixie, and obviously she was a newborn, she was like this, so she couldn't really interact. I could already sense the guilt of the things I said to my mother when I was young, because I love her so much to death. So I think that's the most overwhelming feeling, the love I have for her. And sometimes I tell my husband, is this how I'm going to feel for all my life? Because it's the worrying, the responsibility. There's too much love towards her. And as soon as I had her, I said, why did I say certain things to my mother? I am her world. She loves me, she adores me. But I only understood how much she loves me when I had her. So, I mean, I know she loved me, you know, I don't
But
get
you
me wrong.
become closer to your mom, I think, after you have
Yeah.
children.
My mom is obsessed with her. She kind of forgets me sometimes, but she's she's her world, obviously. I mean,
But you
she's
can
wanted
get
her for a
side.
long time as well. So we were all waiting for her very eagerly. But yes, it's that overwhelming feeling of love and worrying and not being able to protect them forever.
That worries me so much. I'm not looking forward to when she starts
I don't
to
know.
go
I
out.
already overthink about that.
Yes,
even
I'll be
now.
like, oh,
Yeah.
how am I going to be the cool mom that lets her go out and trusts her and not send her messages every 5 minutes? Are you dead? Are you still alive?
For example,
Are you doing drugs?
my mother used to come pick me up from Pajaville when I was younger at midnight. And I used to tell her, but why are you coming for me at midnight when all my friends go home with buses? You know, I want to be like the cool kids. Going with a bus from Pajaville, which is normal, right? But my mother was actually waking up with her hair like from bed, coming to pick myself up and my friend to
With
take
her
her
pyjama.
home. And at that time, I didn't used to appreciate it. I used to think, oh, but I have to leave 30 minutes earlier because my mother is coming for me. I would slap my face now, like I would slap myself. Like, why? Because now I know that, and Pixie's just 2 years, but I do so much for her already. And it would hurt if she would tell me, why are you coming to childcare for me? I'm like, what?
That's
So-
why it stung when she told me such a thing, because I had to like switch jobs and make it easier for me to work from home. And I take a ferry to go there, cancel stuff with my friends because all my friends are in Malta. My boyfriend's in Malta as well. So the things I do just to go home and be there for her and like switch work around. Even my boss does things for her and she doesn't even
And
know.
mind you, everyone does this. All parents do this.
It's
So every time now I see parents, that's what I see in my mind. The responsibility, the love. Even when I meet different children, now I see children a different perspective. Even when we're at the park, he's someone's child. And he's so loved.
I
And
think time management was the challenge I was gonna say.
I think we
Yeah.
better ask Melissa for time.
The biggest challenge or the biggest?
Well, you've been nodding along with
I
Denise
agree.
and with Tamara because you're obviously in agreement. And this
Yes.
is what's lovely about this discussion is that there are touch points where you three ladies have just gone, vroom.
Yeah, and you
I
can
agree
rem-
with that. I see that. I get that. And you are from such vastly different backgrounds. But your challenge, the thing, not necessarily the challenge, but the thing that you didn't know before you became a parent that now you're like, blow me down. I wish I'd known that.
Guilt. Like incredible amount of guilt. I don't think everyone is necessarily like that, but I think most people struggle with guilt because you question yourself whether you are doing it the right way or not. And there's no right or wrong way. Obviously, there's no book about it, how you should do it. But I find myself constantly thinking like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be telling them this? How should I deal with this situation? And I'm constantly feeling guilty about everything. It does get a bit better, but yeah, the guilt is intense.
But if there's, in your mind, a question of, am I doing it right? I mean, am I feeling guilty because I might be getting it wrong? How do you alleviate that? How do you check that you're getting it right? You have a situation where your parents are thousands of miles away.
They're a little bit closer now because they moved to Portugal, which helps. But
Is it apparent? Is that where your first touch point is? Because you've just mentioned your mum coming to pick you up in Parkdale. Is your parent, your mum, is that your first touch point of, am I getting this right? Am I doing this right?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes, but she's overprotective, and I'm a bit more lenient as a character. She's very overprotective. So for her, everything she's doing is also wrong. So it wouldn't help me. Yes, she feels the guilt, my mother. She has a lot going on. She takes care of my grandparents. She works. She wants to take care of us. She wants to cook for us. She wants to take care of Pixie. So my mother is like,
Taking care of everyone.
everyone around her. So, and she feels the guilt still. She feels the guilt that she's not being the perfect daughter, she's not being the perfect mom, she's not being. So I cannot sometimes take her advice on everything because she panics immediately. If my daughter is bitten by a mosquito, it's the end of the world, you know. And I'm a bit more. It's a mosquito.
Yeah.
I try because I'll go crazy if not, you know.
This guilt, I had never even thought that this would be an issue.
It's intense.
I thought
And I
it
think
was
even
only
society
me.
nowadays.
But I think that is the problem.
I am quite lenient on milestones. We spoke about it before. I think nowadays, and not just on social media, not about influencers, it's just even
Humans.
books.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go. People talk about milestones all the time. So if you're 3, you have to be potty trained.
Yeah.
If you're 2, you have to start talking. If you're 30, you have to be married with kids. There's always like a milestone
It's
of life, and
true.
everyone is pressured by this, you know, something to reach
Unspoken.
that you
Yeah.
have to reach. Thankfully, obviously, I think because of my past as well, I learned that I cannot plan things. You know, when I wanted to have children, I couldn't, and I needed to work hard to have children. Also, it's about mindset. When you go through a bad phase, the best thing you can do is find a hobby. Find something to forget about the situation you're going through. Like, I wouldn't have my own business if I had gotten pregnant immediately, for example. So I wouldn't have had the Balance Queen today if I would have been pregnant immediately. So when I couldn't conceive and when I had problems with my hormones, I said, it's either I'm going to pity myself, stay in bed, worry about it, cry about it all the time, or else I'm going to find something to fill my time with and forget about the situation until it improves. And it took me 4 years. It took me 2 years to come up with the first journal and the whole branding. And then when I was pregnant, I was designing another journal just because I was anxious when I was pregnant. It's like,
A product of anxiety.
no, because I couldn't believe
Yeah.
I was pregnant, you know. I told my mother, I didn't even tell my mother immediately, and my mother is my best friend. It was like, I don't know. I couldn't believe it.
So if your mother, in your instance, your mother is overprotective of your daughter, I know that your mother is a very key part of your journey with your daughter, and your parents have moved across to be closer to you. Obviously, that's an important part, but you also mentioned about this guilt of not getting things right, of questioning yourself all the time. So where is your point of reference? Where does any mother find her point of reference to find peace about her journey with her children?
I think for me, I think I touch base with my mom all the time. In my eyes, she's the perfect mom, and I want to be like her. But she causes half my guilt
Oh my goodness.
just because of
Yes.
that. Because I'm not as present as I wish in my daughter's life. So that's the guilt already there.
But isn't that something to do with the fact that we aren't in the same generation as your mum?
It's true. But in my eyes, I was raised in the most perfect way possible, and I want to provide that to my child. I am, in a way, because she's helping me raise my child. But then there comes more guilt because I'm not as present as I wish to be. So there's this whole concoction of different ways of feeling guilty.
You were obviously nodding away there, Melissa.
I
You're
agree.
relating to that.
Yes, because I also look at my mom exactly the same, and I always feel like I can't live up to what she was like for my brother and I. And I want to, but it's like you said, it's also difficult because it's a completely different generation, and we've got different challenges now. And I think the challenges that we have right now is quite hectic, and that's challenges that they didn't have back then. But when I look at the way that I was raised, that's what I want for my children as well. And I put my mom up on this pedestal, and I feel like sometimes I can't,
Reach.
But
Yes.
even though your mum had 2 and you've got
3.
3 and you've got twins, and you'd still compare yourself.
Yes.
This is a lot of pressure, ladies, you're
Yes.
putting yourself under.
So many pressure.
I think it comes natural with the package.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest, I'm not so bad because I believe, I know, and even I know you both, that
Yeah.
you do the best.
Yeah.
And I think what children need is love and care. You don't know what's going to happen when they grow up, but I think I give my all. I give my all to her and I give my all to myself. I know I want my goals to be reached as well, but I find balance to be there for her completely. So it's more about finding the balance.
Balance queen.
Balance school.
So would that be...
Which I don't always have, by the way.
Would that be, if you could pass on a word of advice to any mum-to-be or a new mum or even an experienced mum, if you could pass on a thought, would that be it? Find balance? What would be your legacy?
Yes, find balance. Don't lose yourself. Keep your goals on fire, because at the end of the day, they will grow up. They will be your best friends. Hopefully, I hope that she will be my best friend. But at the end of the day, I would have my own life then as well. And I just hope that I can be as close as possible to her and talk to her, and that she'll be safe to come to me with any problem she has. That's my goal.
That's a fantastic goal. For you, what Denise, what's your...
Mine is always the same, because I've had this conversation on different platforms, and they always ask this. And I think it's trust yourself. Like, you're a mom and you have your own instincts. Other moms are different. They have their instincts, they have their background, they have their lives, their children are different to yours. And even I'm referring to when they're super young, like, don't do the bottle this way, it's better to use this nappy than this nappy.
Oh my God.
Trust yourself and your instinct, and just go ahead with what your heart and mind tell you, because you want your best for your child. That's it. Just trust yourself and your husband if he's in it in the journey as well, because it's not only you.
Melissa?
I definitely agree with the girls, and I also think I need to practice what I preach, but not to put too much pressure on yourself, because that can make or break you as well. And I think that as a mother and as a father, you need to be able to look after yourself first before looking after the kids. Because if you are not going to look after yourself, you are not going to be the type of mother that you want to be for your kids. If you are not well fed, if you are not exercising, if you are not sleeping, it's going to pour into what you give to them, So I do feel like it's very important to look after yourself as well. And I don't think you should feel guilty for that.
Ladies, I have to tell you something. I haven't touched one of the questions on the sheet. So we're going to have to do this all again. Can we do this again? Can we have another Women in Parenthood show?
Definitely.
At least that would justify the time I spent investigating and writing. But thank you so much. I am really stunned, surprised, thrilled and shocked at your responses and your answers. And I think it's a huge contribution to anybody who's going along the same journey, empowering other women to deal with their emotions and their experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
It was a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My morning starts here with an experience that's unforgettable. A precise roast and a generous crema. Taste the unforgettable espresso.